Welcome to GreenBiz Studio. I'm James Ball, the Director of Buildings at GreenBiz, and I'm excited to be speaking with Erika Chan, the Head of Sustainability at US Steel. Welcome.
Thank you, James, and thank you for having me. And I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Me too. Erika, there's so much focus in talking about the full life cycle of materials right now. More than ever, we need to think about extraction, manufacturing, and end of life. So I'm wondering if we could start at the beginning of that journey. When you think about steel, what are the ways and technologies that we need to decarbonize that first manufacturing stage of steel's life cycle?
Thanks for the question, James. I'd like to start first with to give you an overview of how steel is made. So there are two primary ways of making steel. One is called an integrated millway, and one is called a mini millway. On the integrated mill, blast furnaces traditionally use materials like iron ore and coke to make iron and then steel. And then also the electric arc furnace way uses primarily energy and recycled metal to actually produce steel. And the electric arc furnace route is about 70 to 80% less greenhouse gas emissions intensive than the traditional blast furnace way. Globally, there are more blast furnaces in operation than electric arc furnaces. In the US, we have a majority of electric arc furnace technology. US Steel actually has both in our portfolio. And as we transition to decarbonizing our company and our operations, we're looking to really leverage the electric arc furnace technology since it is less greenhouse gas emissions intensive. And one of the things I think that's important to know as well about steel kind of being on the front as well as the end of the life cycle, because we reuse it so often, is that steel is really essential to powering a greener economy, right? It's essential to electric vehicles, to solar energy, wind turbines, transformers. So as we think about how we decarbonize as a whole across many industries, steel is going to be an important part of that solution.
That's fantastic. So take me now to the end of life of these materials, right? You're mentioning kind of different parts of the world. Circular economy is really gaining traction in Europe and other areas. Is that a concept you're working with? And how do you think about the end of life of your steel products?
Yeah, absolutely, James. I often joke that U.S. Steel is we're the OGs of circular economy. We've been practicing, recycling steel for over 120 years, and steel actually can be infinitely recycled without its quality, being changed. So, all the steel that you see, and whether it's appliances or cars or railroads, those all go back into new steel products. So we practice circular economy in a number of different ways. So not only do we reuse our own steel, we also reuse scrap steel. We, in our operations too, the gases that are generated from our blast furnaces and coke ovens, those gases created during the steelmaking process are used to generate steam to power other equipment. And then we also facilitate the reuse of byproducts from our coke making processes. So those go into industries like railroad ties or fertilizer and a lot of other products. And then we also sell slag, which is an output of steelmaking, and that goes into aggregates in highway construction, so into road construction. So a lot of different ways that we're reusing the different elements that go into making steel and the different outputs of steel as well.
Wow, it's really impressive. So the last thing I want to hit on is I think we're at this moment where everybody's really trying to figure out how we scale, right? We need to accelerate the work in this regard. And one of those I've really written about and think a lot about is how do we collaborate better? What strategies and how are you looking at kind of getting to the magnitude of implementation that we need to right now?
Yeah, it's definitely a hard challenge. It's one that keeps me up at night, and I'm sure a lot of my colleagues in the industry as well. What we're doing specifically at US Steel is we are looking at a number of different private partnerships, but also public partnerships. So we are exploring different technologies to capture carbon. We're working with partners to develop hydrogen hubs. And then we're also working with other types of partners like academia, for instance, to provide the research and development that needs to go into the technologies that we can use in the future and how to improve those technologies. And then from the public side, we are working with the federal government. We're actually very excited about the potential federal funding for decarbonization, both from an actual technology acceleration and scaling, but also from a clean energy perspective. Because as you know, we use a lot of energy, and so we're looking at ways to use more renewable energy, but also scale the energy that's going to be needed to transition the green economy.
This is great. Erica, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. You just heard from Erika Chan, the head of sustainability at US Steel.
Thank you, James.